Hello, and welcome to CinePhellas. That's right, CinePhellas, the only place where if Oppenheimer took place in the Star Wars universe, he would say, Nuke, I am your father.
What's going on,
Nuclear
Niall?
bomb.
How's it
All
going?
right, so it's been a while, Kevin, since we've
Been a
done a
while,
movie
yeah.
review, just the two of us.
Yeah, I know Henry and Logan jumped right on this one. I tried getting in, but they're like, yeah, we did Barbie and we did Oppenheimer. We Barbie Heimered. And, I'm glad that you're here to talk about it. This is the new film from Christopher Nolan about Oppenheimer, the guy who invented the atom bomb. And, it's perfect material for Nolan. It basically studies Oppenheimer as a person and the guilt he felt for basically creating a weapon of mass destruction. There's a lot of practical effects. I looked up the budget; it's only $100 million, and that was really surprising to me. How about you?
Yeah, I'm surprised by that, and I'm glad you got into the budget because the budget really shows on screen. But before you and I go any further, let's show the people the trailer.
It's happening, isn't it?
The world will remember this day. Our work here will ensure a peace mankind has never seen. Until somebody builds a bigger one. You are the man who gave them the power to destroy themselves. And the world is not prepared. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Truman needs to know what's next. 2. What's next? 1.
Alrighty, so yeah, you were talking about the budget just a second ago. The budget really does show on screen, and like you were saying, everything is practical effects. I don't
Yes.
want to spoil it, but the big explosion, like that was made for the big screen. When the bomb finally goes off, I'm like, wow, that it's like art the way it looks.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, it's just this is Nolan. He has power. I followed the guy since I was 18. That's when Memento dropped. And, like Memento, none of his movies, besides kind of maybe Dark Knight and the Batmans, follow a very straight narrative. This one bounces back and forth for three different. It kind of reminded me of the Social Network. Two
You're
trials,
right for that, actually.
yeah. There's two trials going on. One was a meeting about his security clearance getting revoked, maybe, and the other one was, big one in Congress, and is he a communist or anything? All that stuff. Um, I'm just gonna get it right at the bat. Cillian Murphy killed it in this movie, man. I I was blown away by him. He was on screen for almost the entire movie, and he makes the best of it. He is. I think he will win the best actor Oscar. Like if I had to call right now, there's still what about 4 or 5 months left in the year, but it's not a performance that just like, oh, whatever. He's just playing a famous person, which is given the nomination. It has a lot of depth. You see the conflict in his eyes. Killian Murphy has those big blue eyes, and he just uses them right to basically get us into the mind of Oppenheimer.
You're right for that. And we'll start with the cast too. But one thing I'd find very much with Cillian Murphy, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is his second time being the lead in a movie, right? He hasn't been a lead since 28 Days Later.
Yeah, oh, Red Eye, but he was more of a villain in Red Eye with Rachel McAdams.
Okay.
Yeah,
But I thought this was good. And you were talking about his eyes, and he's always been known for his eyes. But one thing I noticed with the movie is even his movement is like sluggish, and he just seems like a tired person. And one thing that I like with the movie, I know a lot of people may not like this with characters, but he's not really a good guy or a bad guy. It's just a portrait of a man who's like a shade of gray. It's
yep.
like, yeah, he had his mistress, which I know you love that Florence Pugh scene, but but it's like, yeah, he's not really a good person. He's not a bad person. He's not, a hero. He's not a villain, but he's just a complex character, and that's something I really appreciate. And one thing too, you were talking about his eyes. I just want to focus on his face a little bit too, because his eyes look sunken in. I don't know if they made him look like that, but you notice when his eyes are sunken in and he has like those sharp cheekbones, he almost looks like a skull. I don't know if they did that on purpose
like,
or if
like
that's just how
Skeletor,
he looks.
like Skeletor.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but I just noticed he looked like death, honestly,
Yeah,
like just a little bit. like
Yeah, he's
walking
like,
death, like
yeah,
the
that's a
Grim
good
Reaper.
analogy, man. Like he's the Grim Reaper. He brings death. And this movie is. I'm gonna see it again. I didn't see it on IMAX. Did you see it on IMAX or did you see it normal?
No, I wish I would have seen it in IMAX, but I saw it just in a regular theater.
Yeah, I saw it. I want to see it in the city, the New York City IMAX that I always talk about. I definitely go back. I saw it on a regular screen, and it was still epic. The imagery was amazing. The sound design, like I felt my chair rumble, like I was in a 4DX movie. And the supporting cast that you were kind of talking about before, everyone is on point. This movie, as I talked about in the text messaging, reminded me of last year's Woman Talking, where every performance, I'm not even talking about the main characters, like every performance in that movie was incredible. Just like here, every performance, every person who comes on. And it's a fun little movie to watch. Like you see celebrity cameos. I won't say all of them, but everyone pops up. You got Josh Peck, you got Josh Hartnett. It was nice to see Josh Hartnett again. And he actually does keep up with everybody, which I really was happy about because I like Josh Hartnett as the actor, and I'm kind of glad he's back.
Yeah, and I won't spoil the cameos either, but there's a lot of cameos. I'm like, I know you, I know you.
Yeah.
And even the Dennis Quaid's son from The Boys, Jack Quaid, is in there.
Yes.
But the one that really got me, and I didn't even know this until you guys were like putting it on the group text, and I was looking for the name at the end of the credits, David Cumberholtz.
Oh, Krumholtz, yeah. I was so happy. Like, it's not a little part. That's not a cameo. That he was one of the scientists on the team, and I just thought he did a hell of a job. I'm happy. I've been a Krumholtz fan for a while. He's been in the industry for like over 20, close to 30 years, maybe. And it was fun to see him. And just the way he walks, he's always tucked in. And I thought
Yeah.
he brought a lot to the character. And another performance I liked was Ben Safdie, who played one of the, I forgot the scientist's name, but it was kind of the one that Emily Blunt wouldn't shake his hand at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the guy from he played the mentally challenged guy in the movie Good Time, which I think he directed that movie too.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw Licorice Pizza.
No, I heard about it though. I
Yeah, he
remember we
played,
talked about it.
and like his voice does not sound like how he is in Oppenheimer. He just sounds like a normal guy. So he not only deepened his voice, he got the accent right, and it was a very
Mhm.
impressive performance. And Florence Pugh is great. I liked Emily Blunt. Did you notice anything weird about Emily Blunt's face? She kind of looked off in this movie, in my opinion. Maybe I don't know. I just thought
She looked like an angry grandma towards the end.
yeah, but Nolan throws a lot at you. This is a screenplay that is hefty with dialogue, hefty with information, but he did it in such a fantastic way. I was never lost. It was, it's a movie you got to pay attention to. You cannot go on your cell phone watching this movie. You have to pay attention, but you're going to be rewarded for it.
How did you feel about Robert Downey Jr.?
I liked him. Did you?
I loved him. I think he could easily win an award for like, I don't know, but like I just thought he was so good, and thank God he's dead as Iron Man. He can get away from Iron Man, and it's like
Yeah.
he can really show himself as a full actor again. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's even when he had his troubles in the '90s, he was still a fantastic actor. He pulled in great performances, and thankfully Iron Man saved his career, and he's been coasting on it for like how many years? Like 13, 14 years, I think he's been Iron Man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know, but now he can show people what he can do. And he was great in Chaplin when he was younger, and I hope he has an opportunity to get more roles like this because he was great. He was so vile, and he's a backstabber, and it was a great way to show that.
Yeah, and one thing I do have to ask you, Kevin.
Yeah,
How did you feel about it being black and white?
I liked it.
You liked it, okay?
Reminded me of Memento because some of Memento was in black and white. It was interesting to see, what Nolan had learned about his craft since making Memento, and this movie is a masterpiece in my opinion. I know we save it to the end, but this is a 5-star thing for me.
Really? Okay. Well, I'll save it for the end
Yeah,
because
save it to the end.
one thing I don't really talk about a lot with you guys or just movies in general is the sound design. And the sound design in this movie is phenomenal.
Yes.
Everything, the transitions from when they're on the bleachers and they're stomping their feet and it transitions into the sound of a bomb going off. I'm like, this is really well done. So I just thought the sound was good. And plus, if you were saying it's a movie you really have to listen to. So even if somebody's like kind of like dozing off and they're getting bored and then a bomb goes off and they're like, holy shit, like they wake back up because the sound is that good. And I just watched it in a regular theater. I could only imagine how
I'm
awesome
very
it would
excited
sound
to
in
see
IMAX.
in IMAX. But I'm very interested to see if Nolan would ever direct a horror movie because part of this movie, especially the third act, which is my favorite act of the whole entire, because it's a three-act structure. This movie, and I
Yeah.
liked the third act the best because you see the repercussions and the after effects of him creating that bomb, how much it takes a toll on his psyche, and that's where Killian Murphy shines. That's where the trial happens, and that's where all the actors shine, especially Han Solo. Alden Enric is his name, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I thought, this was a great opportunity to show people like, hey, listen, I didn't, Han Solo wasn't my fault. It was crappy direction, but
Mhm.
I have a good actor, and I don't know if you ever seen Hail Caesar.
Hail Caesar, yeah, I did see
Yeah,
that.
he was great in that. So this
Mhm.
movie's on a bigger stage, and people are like, oh, that was Han Solo. He's actually a good actor, and I got to give a shout out to Ludwig Göransson. He did the score, and I've listened to the score ever since I've seen the movie. The score is all violins, horns, and it's haunting.
Mhm.
Basically, nails home the aspect of this feels like a horror movie at points, especially the scene you were talking about in the gymnasium when he's talking to all the
Yeah.
kids. That was incredible, incredible.
And we talked about on the podcast before. Nolan should direct a horror movie at some point. But one thing too with the movie itself is I really like how we were just talking about the sound design, the cinematography, the editing, but I just think Nolan is like one of the best filmmakers
Yeah.
right now. Like it's so obvious, and we don't get movies like this anymore. And this may not be the blockbuster that people really want to go out and see, but it's the blockbuster for the adult, if that makes sense, if you know what I mean.
Oh no, absolutely. I
Mhm.
I saw Barbie too, and Barbie was fun. I liked Barbie, but I was looking forward to this more. And this is, as I keep saying, this is just in another league. This is filmmaking at its highest, and it just shows, you know, what you can do with not a limited budget, like, but not everything has to be a 200, $300 million spectacle. You
Yeah.
have a good story, you have a good script, you got good actors, which this movie has all three of that. You can make something really memorable.
I actually thought the score was Hans Zimmer, and when the credits were going up, I'm like, oh, his name's not there, which I was like really surprised because he does everything.
Yeah, he hasn't worked with him in two movies because Hans Zimmer's dream was to work on Dune, and that's what he's been doing for the last few years. So I'm interested though,
Oh,
is Hans Zimmer going to go back, or is Christopher Nolan going to keep Ludwig? Because I both understand Nolan's films quite well, and like their scores for Tenet was great.
mm.
This was great too.
I think I might go with Ludwig because Hans Zimmer, he's getting predictable now. Like his starts off really slow, then bomb, and then yeah, it's getting predictable now.
Yeah, I was thinking about like what would Nolan's next movie be, and I know he's from Chicago and he uses Chicago as much as he can. He uses it in The Dark Knight. I would love for him to do, but it would be too linear for him. I would love for him to do like a mob epic about the Chicago mobs. Like, imagine seeing
That'd
that
be cool.
shot in like IMAX cameras, like Tommy gun fights. Like he probably will do something off the cuff like he always does, but that's personally what I would think. How about you?
I could see that actually. I have no idea what he'll do next. It might be like 5 years from now, but that does sound pretty cool.
I know he wants to do Bond, and I don't see any reason why they would just not throw the keys at him, saying, "Yeah, yep, go ahead, do what you want. Just give us a finished product."
Yeah,
And
Bond would be awesome.
yeah, and he can inject the time aspects in Bond. He can make it interesting by making, screwing with the time as he does in all his films.
True. Let me ask you one thing though. Did you feel the length of the movie?
At certain points, yes, but I was just so invested in the history. I thought this was I think this should be shown in history classes in college and high school. Like this,
I thought the same thing actually. Yeah, this
yeah,
is something that you're the teacher, but like if I had a group of students and I was a history teacher, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna watch Oppenheimer for the next 2 days.
and that would actually would have to be it would be like 4 or 5 days. Probably this thing is it's pretty long. It's
Huh.
like 3 hours. Yeah.
One thing too. Well, actually, could they show this in high school because of Florence Pugh? I mean, kids see way worse. Third graders see way worse now, but
Well, they can get the Indian version because I don't know if you know they censored her by CGIing a dress onto her.
did not know that.
So maybe we can get the Indian version into American classrooms.
But
But
one thing too with the movie, I just want to
yeah,
like I love the movie. Like I'm just gonna get that out the way. But I did feel the length just a little bit, and for me at least, I don't know if this is a movie I will go back and rewatch over and over and over again. I don't know how you feel about that.
I am going to watch it on IMAX, and I'm very
Mhm.
interested because now I know what the story beats, and I love the thing how they kept what Einstein said to Oppenheimer. I love how they kept that to the
Yeah.
end. That was
Mhm.
invested us. Like, oh, what did he say? And I'm not going to spoil for our viewers, but what he says is true. And as I say, the third act basically the world crumbles around Oppenheimer, and it's a commentary on the U.S. government and it's the way things are with people in power. And I loved it. It was my favorite part of the
And
movie.
it's still true to this day. So it still
Oh yeah,
speaks to this day.
absolutely, absolutely. That stuff still happens today, unfortunately.
And the part where he meets the president and he's on the cover of Time magazine, I thought it was kind of funny when he was like, "Don't let that crybaby back in here." I'm like,
Yeah, don't tell him who plays him. That was a good
yeah,
surprise.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, you got to see that for yourself, people.
Yeah, but that's about it. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. It's the movie for me to beat this year.
Really, okay. So for me, I actually really enjoy the movie. I think it's very stylized and the cinematography, some of the best I've seen all year. Love the practical effects. Everybody in this movie is just so good. Like everybody, the whole cast. But I did feel the length just a little bit. But other than that, I was invested the whole time. And this is actually one of my favorite movies of the year. I can't say it's my favorite movie, but it's definitely in the top five. I would highly recommend it. But unfortunately, I cannot recommend this to everybody. If you're someone where you're like us, you're, like the film buffs, but if you're someone who wants to just see a casual movie with your kids or your family, I honestly can't recommend this. But for me, this is a 5 out of 5. I give it 5 out of 5 hair pieces, easily in my top five movies this year. And I know we're only halfway through the year, but I definitely recommend seeing this on the big screen if you can. And I love this movie. I love it way more than Tenet, his last movie.
Oh yeah, this is I didn't hate Tenet, but this is a major rebound from Tenet.
It is because my thing with Tenet and Christopher Nolan at some points, it's like you're preparing like for a college assignment. It's like when you're watching his movies, it's like you have to take notes and you're asking the person next to you what you get for number five.
Yeah.
And it's like you're trying to just do all this homework for his movies. And that was Tenet for me. And I'm like, let's go back to being Christopher Nolan, like the old Christopher Nolan.
Exactly.
And I got that with this. And unlike Dunkirk, you actually care for the characters. To me, this is almost like the return of Christopher Nolan. I like this movie a lot more than I thought I would. I thought, I think most people think they're going to get a boring history lesson, but no, you get history, you get drama, you like you're saying, you get a little bit of horror thrown in there. Sound design, you literally have everything in the movie. So 5 out of 5 for me.
Same here. Absolutely same here. What do you guys think? Do you agree with now and I? I think the other guys gave it 4.5. I think Henry and Logan gave it 4.5, if I remember the review correctly. But what do you guys think? Come to the site, check our reviews out, and drop us some love. Give us some give us some love. We always like to hear from our fans.
Yeah, we love you guys, so you show us some love. And as always, we love you. And I honestly hope you really enjoyed this review because we think you're the bomb.
All right, guys. As we say at the site, cheers.
Cheers.